Good to be with you live from Taiwan. I'm Tony DeCopel. The breaking news right now. President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping's meeting now just hours away. The big issues tonight: Iran, trade, AI. And what could be the biggest flashpoint of all, the future of Taiwan, which China is threatening to invade, and where we're broadcasting from tonight, this tiny democratic island in the shadow of a superpower, the microchip capital of the world, powering the things we use every day. What's it?
This is the CBS Evening News with Tony DeCopel, reporting tonight from Taipei, Taiwan.
And good evening. We are live from Taiwan, the first time CBS News has ever anchored from here. And right now I'm just about 100 miles off the coast of mainland China, where leaders of the world's two great superpowers are convening tonight. On the surface, it might look like all the action is over there, where we will soon see images of President Trump and Xi Jinping as they negotiate the Iran war, tariffs, critical minerals, trade, and more. But if you zoom out from the state visit, you see one of the most important geopolitical stories of our time. And the big question tonight: will China, under Xi Jinping, try to take over Taiwan, risking war and economic catastrophe? This is what could happen here on these shores and in these streets if Xi decides to invade. He has already instructed his military to be ready to take this island by 2027. And Taiwan is, in the blunt words of Xi, the most important issue between his country and ours. In other words, while the food will be served in Beijing, the meal, in many ways, is right here. We have a team of correspondents on this story tonight with me in the region, including Weijia Zhang and Anna Korn in Beijing. And we're going to begin with Weijia, our senior White House correspondent who is traveling with the president tonight. Weijia, good evening.
Good evening, Tony. These two world leaders will see each other face to face for the first time on this trip during an elaborate welcome ceremony for President Trump in just a few hours. This two-day visit is meant to signal stability to the rest of the world, showing that competition between the U.S. and China is not escalating into confrontation. President Trump was given a red carpet welcome in Beijing, flanked by a military honor guard and 300 Chinese youth dressed in white and blue to match Air Force One's colors. The highly anticipated meeting with President Xi Jinping comes as Trump faces intense economic pressure at home, caused by the lingering, costly conflict with Iran.
It's going to be a very exciting trip. A lot of good things are going to happen.
Trump regularly praises Xi and calls him a friend, but Xi sees Trump differently, according to Evan Medeiros, who served as President Obama's top advisor on China.
I think he sees him as a leader that lacks strategy, a leader that's very impetuous, somebody who's driven by instinct and impulse. The Chinese look at Donald Trump as somebody that they can manipulate, because what the Chinese want more than anything right now is stability.
Trump said he will ask Xi to open up China and brought a large entourage of American CEOs with him, including Elon Musk, Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, and Apple's Tim Cook, a group of companies worth more than $16 trillion. Their presence highlights Trump's focus for the trip: new business and trade deals. But the war in Iran will hover over this visit. And while Trump has said he does not need China's assistance,
I don't think we need any help with Iran.
Beijing is the biggest buyer of Iran's oil. And with boatloads trapped behind the U.S. blockade, it's in their interest to get the Strait of Hormuz reopened.
It provides China with an opportunity to frame itself as a source of prosperity and stability, in contrast to the United States, which is starting wars and disrupting the global economies.
During Trump and Xi's last meeting back in October, the two reached a truce that halted a fierce trade war. But China wants even more tariffs relief, and they are expected to announce new plans to purchase more American beef, soybeans, and Boeing aircrafts. Tony?
Weijia, thank you very much. And back here in Taiwan, there are real concerns that mainland China may want to reunify, and this will fall under communist control. For decades, U.S. presidents have remained steadfast in their commitment to defend Taiwan from that neighboring giant China. But there's concern that President Trump could change that, with consequences felt around the world.
同志们好。
For China's President Xi Jinping, no issue is more critical than Taiwan. Beijing has called it the core of China's core interests, with reunification by force, if necessary, the center of Xi's agenda. It's also critical for America's economy. Taiwan produces more than 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductors, crucial for AI and defense, making Taiwan ground zero for a global supply chain.
There's a tremendous amount at stake in this relationship, and I don't think it's an exaggeration.
But China has seen Taiwan as a renegade province since 1949, when the nationalists lost the Chinese Civil War to the communists and fled the mainland. Today, it's an economic powerhouse with per capita GDP among the highest in the world. And for decades, the U.S. has played a role too, declining to recognize the Communist Party's claim over the island and selling Taiwan billions of dollars in arms every year. But now a new $14 billion package has been awaiting Trump's signature for months, and many here fear Xi will use trade deals to weaken U.S. support or change the status quo.
There is definitely concern that he will trade away that arms sale in exchange for something else, whether that's for assistance on Iran or some kind of economic concession. President Trump's transactional approach is that everything's up for negotiation.
Another issue to watch, of course, is microchips. The U.S. has barred Chinese companies from the most advanced microchips from companies like NVIDIA. China wants those chips, of course, to power its own AI companies and help them compete. But they could also end up powering China's military, and that's a concern. Let's bring in CBS News foreign correspondent Anna Quarren, who has lived in this region for 20 years. Anna, thank you very much for joining us tonight. You were in Taiwan just a few weeks ago. You spoke to a deputy foreign minister about concerns regarding the Chinese mainland. What's on their mind?
Look, publicly, Tony, they said America has our back. Privately, there are deep concerns that its most dependable ally could sell it out for a grand bargain with China. And really what has prompted these fears is President Trump's recent comments that he is willing to discuss U.S. arms sales to Taiwan with President Xi. This is unprecedented. And since the late 1970s, Tony, the U.S. has sold more than $50 billion worth of arms to the Taiwanese for their national defense.
So, Anna, on the issue of Taiwan, what does President Xi want from President Donald Trump?
So Xi wants reunification. He has said this time and time again. He's claimed that it is unstoppable. And look, this has been the position since the inception of the Chinese Communist Party, but it has become an obsession under Xi. He wants the US to stop selling arms, to change its posture, and to reduce its support of Taiwan, Tony.
Anna, thank you very much. We're going to have more on the summit. Finally tonight from Taiwan, as President Trump and China's Xi Jinping prepare to meet, you will hear a lot about American decline and the rise of a powerful new China. The Chinese certainly believe it, but is it true? Xi's China is a marvel by many measures. Is the world's second largest economy, producing almost 30% of the world's manufactured goods. They have high-speed rails that put the Acela to shame. And China has lifted millions of its citizens out of poverty, making things like the iPhones in your pocket and mine. And yet, America remains the innovation hub of the world. Made in China, yes, but designed and invented in the USA. New drugs, new discoveries, new inventions, new space missions. Xi boasts of the country's industrial might, and it's impossible to deny that fact. China's population is in decline, though, well below replacement rate. Unemployment is high, with millions in rural provinces living in poverty and massive housing complexes that now sit empty. Most importantly, and perhaps I'm stating the obvious here, none of these problems are a topic on the Chinese evening news. In fact, pessimism itself is forbidden on the Chinese internet. The freedoms we have, they simply do not. That's another day in America and the world. I'm Tony DeCopel, live from Taipei, Taiwan. Good night.